Viggo Mortensen was offered the role for this movie, Thomas Jane and Harrison Ford turned it down. Can you imagine if it had been Harrison Ford instead of Viggo Mortensen?
I would have probably been laughing the whole movie.
I don't think Harrison Ford would have made the same choices because Viggo Mortensen apparently was very involved in like the character choices.
Maybe them showing that butt was meant for Harrison Ford.
This isn't completely a dead eye. It still works a bit. The problem is, the only thing I can see with it is additional crew. And it can see right through it. Right through your podcast, Val. I see what's inside it, what makes it tick. It's still the same podcast. Welcome to Additional Crew, the spoiler-heavy review show where we choose kind of like whatever random film we want to talk about. This episode will bring to you a mild-mannered man becomes a local hero through an act of violence, which sets off repercussions that will shake his family to its very core. I'm, of course, talking about the legendary Canadian director David Cronenberg's A History of Violence. This film was nominated for 2 Oscars, Best Supporting Actor for William Hurt and Best Adapted Screenplay for John Olson. But how does it stand up to the test of time? 20 years later-ish, roughly. Before we jump into all that, though, I should definitely go ahead and introduce your co-hosts. I'm Nick, been around. With me is my longtime friend, Val.
Hello.
How's it going, Val?
Hello, everyone. Val. I went to high school with Nick. Longtime friends.
Yeah, longtime friends. We've watched movies together before, and happy to have him on the show. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Man.
Yeah.
It was good. It was good to watch a movie that was like slow paced and made you think. So it was good to see that, and it was refreshing. I've never seen the movie before. It brought back a lot of those, I would say, nostalgia, those memories from that time period and whatnot.
And we'll talk more about like all of the parts of it because it is definitely different. You don't really see movies like this anymore, and I think at that time you did see them. It immediately brought back like those feelings of the mid 2000s. Like it had like that oversaturated look. Everyone was, looked like they're from the mid 2000s. They had the high school from the time, and we would have been in high school at the same time. So, yeah. I don't know if I've seen anyone who looked as like cheesy as all the high schoolers did in this movie.
That's very true. And they were using the words we used to use.
Yeah. Yes. Very much so. This was a movie that if you were around in 2006 in high school, you would have heard every single thing that they said in this movie. So the dialogue, although nowadays you can't hear it, it was true to its time source for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. And it didn't mean more than how he said it.
No, it was just a bully. It was just a bully trying to get under the skin of a kid. Well, we'll talk about that. Let's go ahead. We'll just jump into the movie because we're already starting here. So we're going to start off with story, talk about themes and all this stuff. So the story of this movie, it seemed like a pretty simple story overall. Like it's a guy who had a past on his hidden identity. He hid it from everyone. And then two people come in. They try to, I don't even know that I would call it stick up his bar. They try to terrorize his bar. They needed money, but they were also going to get everything, probably kill everyone in there. And then he gets on the news because he stops them and he kills them, and his past life catches up with him. That's pretty much the whole plot. With that said, it's a simple story that has like little layers. I'm gonna start with something, Val. Did you know? Because I didn't know this at all when watching the movie. Did you know that the guy who, not the one with the cool suit that was gonna rob the diner, but the other dude who was with him, the like sleazy, tired looking guy,
the tall one with like the white shirt, and he smoked a cigarette. Yeah.
He was Viggo's cousin in this movie.
Really?
Yeah. So that's why it was like the whole family was all related to each other. So Tom Stahl, or I'm already spacing on his Jake Cusack, Jamie Cusack,
Richie. Oh, Jamie. So that's Richie's brother or cousin as well.
So that was their cousin.
So then that older guy that was with him, I forgot the actor's name. That's his uncle. We can assume that was...
Yeah, Leland, I think was his name. And then it was Billy, the other guy who we were talking about with the white shirt. He was related to him. But I will say this. I'm going to start off with this much. Is that the first like scene of this movie felt very David Cronenberg, where they're like, you got Billy in the car. He's smoking a cigarette. He talks to this guy. He's like, hurry up. He drives forward like 3 feet.
3 feet. With crickets just like in the background. It's so nice. I loved it. I loved the opening.
It was great because the drive forward and you think he's going to go somewhere, but he doesn't go anywhere. He just pulls forward like 3 feet, gets out of the other guy comes out. He's like, yeah, I forgot. You can go get water. It's in the cooler. And then we get led to this whole entire like massacre scene with a little girl who's hidden in the office. And you think that, like, if you want to set up Billy as a bad guy, the easiest way to do that is to have him immediately shoot a little girl, right?
Not only that, check if there was change in the payphone. Like, I was like, what an asshole.
This guy, yeah, these guys suck, man. They're just out for like whatever money they can get. It doesn't matter if it's a lot, it doesn't matter if it's a little, whatever. They'll take anything.
And it made me
And
laugh too when he was like, hey, I just took care of the maid. And then like put on his shirt and he's like, go grab me some water. He could have just grabbed water and came out.
he was like
man.
right there the whole
Yeah.
time. Yeah. I think he was just trying to get him. He was like setting him up. He's like, yeah, I need you to go see what happened in there.
And the camera needs to follow so we know what happened. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The when I don't remember it in the actual movie itself, but in the like director's extra scenes and stuff that I was watching after I watched this film, they wanted to make a point of how like careless this guy was, and the fact that he stole a root beer from the fridge right as he was about to shoot the little girl. I didn't catch that, but it was funny because they knew what they were doing. They're like, we need this guy to look sleazy. They need him to look like he doesn't care, and he's gonna just steal whatever he can. Anything.
It's like we need him to look sleazy for all the generations. Like,
yeah. No one's gonna be able to look at him and be like, "No, that's just how it was. He's a cool guy." Like, he's gotta suck.
I did think that how like that opening scene did start. I thought those guys were like, it was like a flashback almost, like, or like grown up versions of his kid or something. I did think that. I thought they're going to be main characters, and then it clicked a little bit later that okay, he was just introducing us that these guys are assholes and they need to die.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly right though. Is like he wanted to show them that they needed to die. So when they go to the diner and they go and do almost the same thing to the diner, right, with a bunch of just regular average Joes from this little town, we know that they're the bad guys. We don't have any clue that like, hey, maybe they're like down on their luck. We know that they're just nasty dudes. So when Tom Viggo Mortensen's character kills him, everyone's like, this is fine. He's okay. He's the hero. He saved all these dudes. There's no sideways way to look at it. He's the hero in the situation.
And the
don't
hero,
care who you are,
the hero that was needed. Like they need, yeah, it needed to happen. But well, actually, I can kind of see him as a villain too because they're only there because they're looking for him. So they would never be in that bar. They would have never killed those kids if Joey just or Tom came clean.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. So like there were a lot of themes in this film around violence, right? And one of the things I'll say is I don't think that when they based on what I was seeing when they originally wrote this movie, it was supposed to be just an action movie, and the director and Viggo Mortensen didn't read it that way at all, and so they made this film instead of a full-on action movie, which is hilarious to me. It sounds like they took something that was supposed to be something completely different, and they're like, "Well, we're gonna add in some themes and make it cool." And that's the only way he could get Viggo Mortensen to play this main character. But like, so one of the things that happens is that Tom, even when in his like moment where he's saving everybody by killing these two guys and these clearly bad guys, he's using an act of violence to solve a situation. And you can see like with his son later, his son uses violence by beating up the bully, right? And he did it because he's like, oh, well, I don't want to be your son who's looked down upon after you were a hero because you use violence and I'm just sitting here taking it, I'll use violence also to be a hero in this situation. And it was one of these things like this movie keeps showing that every time violence happens, it just leads to more violence in different ways. Even if it's not directly you, it's now someone else who's getting, hurt. And ultimately, we see Jack, Tom's son, shoot Ed Harris's character with a shotgun and become a killer himself. And again, he's doing it to save his dad. Not a bad version of it, but
I thought that was pretty cool that the son, you see him get bullied, get called a bitch, all this stuff. He didn't do anything. And then when he realized that his dad, because his dad kind of seems like a quiet, reserved guy that won't cause any chaos. Mm-hmm. Once he sees his father cause the chaos, he stuck up for himself. So I did like that perspective, like, because I was like, dude, you got to stick up for yourself. I need you to stick up for yourself, especially when his girl was present. And she was like telling him to back up. It was nice to see him stick up. Yeah, because
Dude,
I did.
it was so funny to me that I was watching this the very first time when he's just playing baseball and all he does is catch that hit that comes out into the left field, right? And the bully comes in, he's like, "You think you're all strong because you beat me?" And I'm just like, "Dog, you just caught your pop fly, man. Like that's just what happens in baseball." And you're picking on this dude. He's like, "Yeah, whatever, man. I'll just beat me up, okay? Or you just win. Don't even beat me up. You just win."
And it can be assumed they're on the same team. One was like a freshman or like JV or something versus
Mhm.
varsity, right? That's what I got out of it.
Exactly, because they're on the same school. This isn't like an inter-school teams. They're not like that was the finals. You know, they're
Yeah,
playing. I think it was like gym class.
yeah, or that. Yeah, if it wasn't like practice, it was gym class.
It's so stupid.
Which actually that makes more sense though. Actually,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. They just don't like each other. That bully was an idiot.
he
One thing I
was.
love is that when that bully tried to do the fast U-turn and almost got T-boned by the Leland and Billy in that weird truck that they must have stolen. That the bully looked up at him and immediately saw someone that was a bigger bully and was like, "Oh shit, oh shit, no, I ain't messing with that guy. We gotta go." He immediately recognized it. You know, he's like, "Oh, that's a bad dude." That is a nice little touch. I really like that.
Well, I did have a question about like, so we kind of know the witness protection, everything that happened. Are those his stepkids? Is
I
that supposed to be assumed, or the older son is his stepkid and the daughter is his? Because I can't see him like his wife and kids not knowing he was in the mob because of the
mm-hmm.
age.
Mm-hmm. And this is a good question. I think this might be more of a plot hole because here's it never really says as far as I remember. But what I am led to assume is that they're his kids because someone out here is going to hear this and say this is a dumb way to assume it, but they have the same last name as he does, right? Jack Stahl, Sarah Stahl, and she's Edie Stahl, the mom. And I don't know how long she was supposed to have been with him because Jack Stahl. This was an issue. Is that one? He looked like he was like 26, not like he was like 14, 15, but I think
Yeah,
he might have been supposed to be like 14 or 15.
I think so too.
Yeah, he did not look like a young, like he should have been at the very least a senior in high school. And I don't think he was supposed to be played that way.
Do you think that he dropped a clue of like when we see Tom's wife, I forget her name, Edie, when we see
Mm-hmm.
Edie and Tom talking and how she said that we never got to grow up together in the car and then kind of told the kids are all gone, come back, and she dressed up like a
Sure.
cheerleader.
Yeah.
So I kind of was like, maybe they weren't together and met each other later on in life, or he was always gone on business or doing stuff that, I kind of that was a clue a little bit to me, and I couldn't get anything else from the movie of
Well,
that.
I that's a good little pickup because I think you could be onto something here. Like, I wouldn't shock me if like Jack wasn't his son, but then the little daughter Sarah was his daughter. You know, because she was a lot younger than Jack, and that would make the situationally would make sense to me. Is like maybe she had Jack when Edie had Jack when she was younger, and then when she got with Tom, she had Sarah, the little girl. But it doesn't really say. So it's just like the only thing I can take away for sure is it makes me feel like Jack should just be considered his son, but the age difference is kind of weird. And I think the issue is that Ashton Holmes, the guy who plays Jack, just doesn't look like a teenager in this movie.
He doesn't.
He just doesn't look like a teenager at all.
Young adult, like you said, 22, about 23, I would say, yeah.
They gave him like curly hair, like that's good enough, all right. It's like it wasn't good enough at all. And neither him nor the bully kid, which I don't remember the bully kid's name, but he also looked way older. But they gave him a Letterman jacket at least, you know. The Letterman jacket made a difference. He actually, we'll go ahead and say this: the casting wasn't great for making these people look like they're actually in high school.
I would say a lot of movies during that time did that.
Yeah,
A lot of some makeup, clean shave, get that 5 o'clock shadow look, gone. Boom.
you know, if they really wanted them to make them look like they're in high school, they should just give them like scraggly mustaches.
I did like to see Vigo pumping it with his
Mm-hmm.
wife. We got to see him in some sex scenes with his sexy butt just out. It was
And a couple different times, and it's funny because I think that like sex was used in this movie for a couple different times and in different ways too, right? So you see him like having this perfect life first off, with when she's like when she does the whole entire dresses up as a teenager, she's like, we didn't get to have these years together, so let's live them now. Like that was used like, oh, he's got the perfect life. His wife loves him. She's passionate. His kids are doing good in school. Everything's going well. He owns his own diner. But then on the stairway scene,
Yeah, where
which
she found out he was Joey.
yeah, and then she covers for him in front of the sheriff, right? So she's like breaking some sort of thing. I don't know, like she's accepting it in some sort of way. And then on the stairway, she looks all mad, but then she has a passionate kiss for him. And they wanted to make sure you knew that she was consenting in this scene. That was the thing that I was watching again the extra scenes right here, and David Cronenberg's like, yeah, this scene looks a little bit too like assault. He's like, we got to make sure that she kisses him first, and it's very clear that she kisses him first, so that way people know it's not assault.
It did
And
kind of, with his background now, we found out he's an Irish mobster. Like, yeah, of course you're going to assume
Mhm.
that was assault. Like, he's like, okay, fine, you found out. I'm not letting you go. You could have.
Right.
I thought that might have happened. Like, he would have done that and killed her. Like,
It, it did look pretty bad, especially like okay, on a stairway of hardwood, man. Like everyone's just gonna be in pain after this is over. I don't care like how old you are and how fit you are. They even made a point to show her bruises afterwards. They like use sex as like some version of like, well, sometimes violence is love, and I don't know.
maybe that's, their kink.
but I was
Just trying to show us.
it's just the down shot of Vigo's butt.
Yeah,
Dude was built, that's for sure.
yeah. He was pumping. He was like, boop, 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 boop.
But and then the immediate show to the bruise on her back. I'm just like, man, what just happened here? We've gone off the rails. But he needed to get it in. He's like, you got to get Vigo's butt in this film. If I'm gonna hire Vigo, there's one reason for it.
And then after that scene, right? So after that sex scene, they show like he's awake. He woke up. She walks by in like a bathrobe, just mad at him. And then he
Mm-hmm.
drives off to Philly. He's like, all right, I'm going to Philly.
That's what I needed. That's my goodbye. See you later. I gotta go. But I mean, he did need to solve this issue, right? Like that made sense. Like this wasn't gonna go away because his brother called him, right? Richie called him after that, or did he call Richie? I can't remember the order of events. Either he
I
called
think
Richie or
he
Richie called
called
him.
Richie. I'm almost certain he called
Mhm.
Richie.
And he's like, "You're gonna have to come down and see me, or am I gonna have to come down there myself?" So it was like, okay, either you solve this, or you're gonna keep getting into these issues. One thing I was curious as I was watching this movie that I found out afterwards, just FYI. By this time, Viggo Mortensen had already been Aragorn, and he had already been in Hidalgo. So I think Viggo Mortensen was pretty popular this time. So getting his butt on screen was probably
Great.
an important thing.
Yeah, for the ladies.
So yeah, the he goes over to meet his brother. What's funny is that in the scene where they're talking in the foyer, him and his brother. I think it's a foyer. I don't really know what a foyer is now that I said it out loud. They like go forehead to forehead when even though they're mad at each other. Right?
But yeah. I thought that was very, very intimate.
It was, but what's funny is that like Arlo and Dino had done that like earlier in the day. Those are my kids, by the way. Like a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, my two sons. Like Dino was sitting on Arlo's bed, and Arlo walked up to him and said, "Get off my bed." And Dino said, "No." And then Arlo grabbed Dino's cheeks and put him forehead to forehead. I'm just watching this as the parent, like, oh, what is about to happen here?
So it's like beef love.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, I'll beat you up, but it's not out of hatred. I just need you to do what I'm asking. I was like, and Arlo, the younger one, he's definitely in charge of the situation right now. Sorry if you hear this in the future, guys. This is just true when you were 3 and 5. But okay, so
I did think Richie was going to kiss him. I really did. I thought he was about to make out.
There's a lot more issues with this family than we knew. Well, and here's the things that like brother and family and all that stuff, especially when you're talking about mafia. Who knows if it actually meant real blood brother? I think we like hear their names Cusack, and that's the only real reason we assume they're actual like blood brothers, as opposed to just like he was working under his.
Or they grew up together, like since they knew each other since they were 5, 6. We're brothers.
And I think that's an interesting, like, it's all interesting because there's this big like underlying thing about like how violence changes how violent acts relate to your identity and change your identity, and how you can't just like do something that's violent and creates violence in this world and then move on from it and pretend it never happened, right? Even though like he almost was able to do that, but then violence re-entered his life. So I just like this whole, can you change, can you become a different person, etc. I don't think it answered the question. Of course, it just presents the question and then it shows you a story. Tom was trying his best to change, but then he ended up killing a ton of dudes.
And it looked like he enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah.
It really did. He didn't really like show emotion, like any bad, like, oh, I feel bad for what I just did. He was like, okay, next motherfucker, I'm gonna go take care of him. There was no.
We even got the like Steven Seagal neck crack in one of the scenes. That was almost so goofy. That scene drew me so far out of the action for a second when he's just like opens the door, goes crack on the neck, and I'm just like, no, stop.
It was all the camera angle, but yeah, it's so bad, and he like flipped. I
really like David Cronenberg as a director, but I'll tell you this: I've watched a lot of this guy's movies. He does not know how to film a fight scene. He does not know for the life of him how to make a fight scene look cool, because like even when Vigo's like being ultimate badass, it looks kind of goofy.
It does. Like he's on the ground, he kicked his foot up. Like I almost thought, like, don't mess with the Zohan. And just feet start coming up on the camera and kicking that dude in the face, and he's knocked out back. Where I'm like, dude, come on.
It's all too easy, right? Like none of this is making any sense physically. Like he's just barely kicks him and he's like falls. Yeah, it's or like he did the throat stomp, right? And like that killed the guy. It just killed him.
Yeah.
I'm sure that the throat stomp would hurt like crazy, but I didn't get any sense that he was just dead now.
Yeah, that was dope. That I will say that for that throat stomp was, yeah, it was pretty good action.
Okay, and anyone who like loves David Cronenberg knows this. The one thing you always look for in Cronenberg movies is all the gore and special effects, right? They're not done by himself, but he knows how to get his special effects teams to make good special effects. This movie has some good special effects. I'll go back to the bar scene in the beginning, or the diner scene in the beginning, when he gets shot. Leland gets shot in the face, and he's like lie down on his face in the blood,
and then he tries to talk.
He's like trying to talk, and you can see like the blood coming out and the tongue is moving. It's funny because they included that. They didn't think he was going to try to talk, but the special effects team had made it like a messed up tongue from a bullet wound. And they're like, you got to try to get that on camera, okay? So like try to make him talk or something when he's on the ground, and they totally did.
Well, I was hoping for more of that. Like it feels like they didn't give us enough screen time on that. It was like, boom, done. I was like, oh, come on, show us more.
Well, okay. So they had a couple different scenes that they had shot. The deleted scenes are all like basically this, right? They had scenes they had shot that had more special effects that were pretty crazy. Like Ed Harris had this huge hole in his chest during like a dream scene, but Cronenberg cut them all himself because he said it didn't feel like the right movie. He's like, when I did that, it felt like one of my old movies. Like I was trying to make a horror movie, and this isn't really a horror movie.
I see. That one with Jude Law, right? Where like they're like in a video game world. And all that.
Existence.
Yeah. Because it was like, I remember there was a dude with like, it almost looks like, I hate to say it, I'm gonna say it, like a vagina on his chest that opened up, and
100%. I think that like, it's supposed to look like a vagina in a lot of those. Did you watch Videodrome? I can't remember. Like Videodrome, he gets the pistol that he pulls out of his like belly button. That totally looks like he's pulling a pistol out of his vagina. It's his belly button vagina. It's pretty crazy.
And it's like the 80s, right? Videodrome.
Yeah.
Never seen it.
No, it's a crazy movie. It's awesome. I love that movie. But yeah, if you like that movie will get you, because it is totally. Once you start going with the special effects, you just get lost. It's got kind of a similar theme, though. It's like, hey, violence messes with your identity, it messes with your brain, it makes violence seem okay. So once one act of violence starts, the rest just kind of cascade and follow, because that's the only way to solve this. You can't solve violence without extra violence on the outside, and it just kind of cascades, and that's why the world's the way it is. Like, it's all violent all the time.
And then even like the kid that's very passive and quiet and reserved, he's going to show the violence too. There's no escaping it. You like eventually it's going to be violent or has been violent. There is no way around it.
Right.
And exactly. I would agree.
Exactly. Like that and that's the diner scene is the perfect setup for this, because like you know that the violence had to happen. Either the people inside were going to have violence perpetrated against them, or Tom was going to have to do violence against the people who came to rob the areas. There was no situation that this happened where it was pacifist, like no one was getting hurt.
Let's walk
Someone
out and
had to
have
get
a
hurt.
drink. Like, oh no, they're gonna kill each other.
Mm-hmm. And then and then Ed Harris walks into the scene. Carl, I think his name is, and he walks into the diner the next day. And he takes off his glasses and he's got that messed up eye. And I love that scene because it was so kind of goofy, but like awesome at the same time. It was like so over the top, badass that it looks stupid, but it looked good at the same time. Where he pulls off those glasses, there's the fucking white eye, and he's just like, "Hey, Jake,
Yeah, and
give me
Ed
a coffee."
Harris is the guy, dude. He's
Oh,
the
he is the
guy.
guy. He's so cool in every movie. I didn't know how much Viggo Mortensen and Ed Harris kind of like looked like the same dude, just like in different times of their life. Until I was watching this movie, and every single time Viggo looked up, I'm like, he looks just like Ed Harris. He just needs to lose his hair.
That's true. That is so true. Even like you look at their IMDb page, and you can confuse them. One has hair,
Just
one doesn't.
yeah, shave Viggo Mortensen, and then Ed Harris is right there. It's
The chin, the dimples, the eye color, the nose, like yeah, it's there. I see it,
mm-hmm.
100%.
I was watching him like he just cast the same guy in two different roles. He's got a type. He's like, I know what I'm doing here.
But Ed Harris is like my favorite bad guy, like of all time.
Yeah, yeah. And you mean just like any one of the roles he has, or do you mean in this movie in particular? Yeah.
Yeah.
Ed Harris is awesome. There's this movie came out recently called Love Lies Bleeding, right? And it's Kristen Stewart and I can't remember her other name. And they're like wrestling champs. They get all into the steroid game and they end up just going nuts. And Ed Harris plays this really long hair hippie bad guy, and he's so good in it, man.
Really?
I don't even think I'd like the movie that much if it weren't for Ed Harris's bad guy in that movie, which is awesome.
I didn't think Kristen Stewart was still an actress. I thought she was done.
Yeah, she's doing things. That one was a pretty good one, actually. I haven't watched a lot of her movies, but that one was a pretty good one.
It looks interesting.
But yeah. I'm up for whenever I see Ed Harris hanging around in a movie, I'm like, it's probably worth watching. There's something in there worth getting into.
And then with Vigo, I never realized that he was in Eastern Promises. And I really liked that movie.
You know, and that's another Cronenberg movie, I think.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I like that movie a lot, and I heard they were making a second, so let's hope it's true.
Yeah, I'm gonna double check my own words here, but I think that's a Cronenberg movie also. That was the second movie they made together.
Vigo looked like the perfect Russian dude. He does look Slavic.
And he's got such a very clear face, or not very clear, very unique face. Besides him and Ed Harris, they're the same person. But no one else, you can't confuse anyone else with each other. One of the other things I think I'd be remiss not to bring up here is during the story, that one of the main themes is also the way society treated violence. Because Tom also I'm gonna segue real quick. The name of the diner was Stahl's Diner. And I know why they did that. They had to name it after his last name, because if they did it after Tom as a first name, it would be Tom's Diner, which is that really famous song from the 90s, which I really wish they would have just leaned into that and made it Tom's Diner. But, scriptwriter, you could have just named him any other first name instead of having to move away and call it Stahl's Diner. Okay. So the society, the way that they treated us, Tom Stahl's got this diner. Everyone loves it. He's doing great. His whole family's awesome. He gets like no notoriety. No one ever talks about him. All good. But then as soon as he kills two people, he's all over the news and he's the talk of the town. And he is the man, which makes sense also. But it is weird that you can go through and do things like perfectly right, but you won't get that sort of fame behind you until the violence has found its way into your life. And I think that's a pretty clear theme on its nose. I don't know, unless that brings up anything for you, it feels like that was a pretty big turning point. It's like, oh man, the violence is coming back into his life, and of course now people love him, but it's only because he killed people, which is weird.
Yeah, weird dichotomy. I think that as a society too, is a lot of that is true. Like if a dude commits murder, for example, or a lady commits murder, they get a lot of love notes and everything from random strangers and random people. Like we're driven for that. We drive towards violence. I don't understand why. How we celebrate Jeffrey Dahmer here in America, where so many movies and we keep regurgitating the same stuff on something that's so bad. It sells. It's part of our what like almost like our Darwinistic ideas or the way we are evolved into this from how we were. We had to be violent. It's still going to happen even if times have changed. We're still going to be violent.
And it's like, again, no matter how hard you try to run away from it, violence, if it finds its way in. Yeah, and there's like we've watched a lot of horror movies on this podcast. I love horror movies, but it's like, that's just part of it. Violence, unfortunately, is like a state of change. It almost feels like it takes things from the way they were to a new way of being, and that's an interesting time to talk about things or to see things. And it's unfortunate because if you think about violence, there's almost always a victim, someone who got hurt for almost no real reason other than to change things from point A to point B.
It does because like let's say you work with me for example, and you're not getting it. I'm trying to show you on the same thing about 4 or 5 times. I'm being so nice about it. I'm like you're just not getting it. But one time I flip out the sixth time and I yell at you and you're afraid. Now you're not gonna fuck up. Like you got it. The nice way didn't work. And I'm not saying you specifically. I'm just using you as an example. So sometimes you have to be violent to get from point A to point B because like you're stuck on point A from being nice this whole time, and this guy is not this person that reciprocating what you're trying to tell him or how to move on or move forward or actually retain the information I'm trying to teach you.
It's interesting because like it's decried, and I feel like it's decried and it probably should be, but it's also celebrated, right? So it's like this dichotomy between the two things. But violence is also shown in this as like a means to solve problems, right? And Richie, Tom's brother, even though they show each other love and they show each other like the acceptance near the end, violence still is the only answer to his problem that he has. He says everything like is good, but it could be way better. But the only way for it to get way better is if I kill you.
Yeah, and I have 3 guys behind you, a guy with the wires, yeah. So either Tom needs to die or Joey, or Richie needs to die. That's the only way to get from point A to point B. Like one of them has to die.
So it's like violence there is the only way to solve this problem. There's no other answer, no other out. Even though, like, in theory, if everything was perfect, they could have just been like, all right, I'll pretend to be dead and let me go back to Illinois. No one can accept that answer because it doesn't bring the closure that they need it to.
And then do you think that, like, from the history of violence, that the whole son being in the movie and being a part is that he passed on the violence to him and it's going to continue to pass on? The daughter saw it, even though she didn't speak much, but she saw the violence and you can see it kind of affecting her.
I think so, 100%. Like the son who was like anti, violence, he wouldn't even get in a fight when he was, 100% getting bullied and picked on, and he was in the right to have thrown that punch. He now gets it. Now he is going to be violent, and it'll be passed on to someone else who sees it next time, and it'll set up another situation where the only way out is violence again, because it keeps ramping itself up. So like a history of violence, like in this movie, like in the title, it's like it's a double entendre, right? The history of violence is Tom's history of violence, right? Like you have a history of violence. You've been violent in the past, but it also seems like it means like humanity just in general has a history of violence, which means you can't get violence out of the equation. It's too far gone. The only way to have no violence would have been to like reset everything, but then it'll pop back up. That's just
it'll pop back up.
So I think it did a good job, like pulling all that together as far as like plot and story goes. I think it did a pretty good job of portraying that. The movie was short; it was only like 96 minutes or something, an hour and a half, a little bit over, and it didn't waste time getting into the doldrums or showing you a bunch of stuff that's unnecessary.
Yeah,
it just kind of pushed through.
It makes you think. It makes you have to think. It's not going to give it all to you. So if you didn't get it like the first time you watch, because I did watch it 3 times, and to understand more and try to and I do like that after I'm done watching the first time. Hey, let me go back and watch certain parts because I didn't understand that. The movies we get nowadays is 10 minutes in, I got the whole movie. I don't even need to watch it. What's the point? Like, there is no point.
Yeah. The movie me and Adam reviewed last time, Night Watch, right? Which was a movie from 1994, had like the biggest twist in it that I won't give away here necessarily, but it just reminded me. I'm like, wow, you really can still get shocked by a film because I couldn't figure out. I thought I knew who was the troublemaker in this, and I had no clue who it was at all. But
And this is like
you know,
from 2004 Night Watch.
1990.
I see. I
Um,
see.
yeah, it was just a. But again, it was like another one of those like it just kind of lends you its way. Because in the beginning of this film, I thought, hey, maybe there's a chance that Tom isn't this Joey guy. He had me tricked a little bit, right? Until about the mall scene with Carl and Edie in it, where Carl's sitting there and he's like, I know it's Joey. I can see it. I know it's Joey, you know? Then I was like, okay, it probably is Joey. I don't think Carl's that big of an idiot. He might be blind in his left eye, but he's not that big of an idiot.
Yeah, I
And he,
I agree with you. I believed that he was not Joey. I
Mhm.
totally thought he was Tom the whole time, and that these guys were just messing with him because he was a big prominent dude in the community.
Yeah, I was hoping that it would be like, no, it really was just a guy who looked just like him, was Joey, and now he's got to like save his family. But this was probably a more interesting version of it. Let's talk about just for a moment the actors and the characters themselves. Tom as a character seemed like he was pretty clear. He was a guy hiding his identity who had a past, but was trying to replace his violence with love. That one was good. Edie as a character was an interesting one to me because we'll talk about acting a little bit later. As far as her, she falls in love with this Tom guy, and then she finds out that he's actually Joey, right? And once she finds out that she's Joey, she's super bitter, but she still protects him from the sheriff. Do you think she just protects him from the sheriff because she just accepts that this is her family and she has no choice, or do you think that like she's learning to accept the whole idea of him as Joey?
Because of the sex scene, I think she is accepting him for Joey. That's what I do.
Because I can see it, right? Like where it's like, okay, so this is not, he hasn't been honest with you. That much is pretty clear at this point. But like also, um, he isn't a different person suddenly, despite knowing having a different name. You've still been with this dude for this long, and now you find out his past, which his past is terrible. But like, does the past change the person he is now?
And then everything that he did, all the violence he did, was like seemed
Mm-hmm.
out of good.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to rob him. He wasn't trying to take anything from them. He
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to be left alone and gave him opportunities to leave him alone. So I could see her being like, "Oh, Joey did change into Tom. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna just the way his daughter at the end, like put the plate and the two fork, like the spoon and the fork, or a fork and the knife for him, like
Yeah.
here." And then
Yeah.
the son was like, here's your steak, take it." And then
That was a, you know what, you reminded me, that was a really good ending. Actually, I
that
did enjoy
was
that because the
was she
dinner table
praying though?
scene.
Was she when she put her head down? Was she praying, or what did you get out of that?
I think, I, so when she put her head down, I think she was just like overwhelmed almost, right? Like because she puts her heads up and she's crying, right? And he looks like he's about to cry too, and they make the eye contact, and that's kind of how it ends. I think that she's just is making her decision in that moment. So she puts her head down to make the decision. Do I let him sit at the table or do I push him away? And then the daughter and the son make the decision.
For her, yeah, and she's just like,
But this is my family. This is what it is now.
because did you notice that they did show Joey's like cross around his neck? Not a lot, but a couple times. They showed it in a scene, I think when he was at work. They showed like they did a still shot of the cross, and then after he killed his brother, they showed the cross on his necklace. So I was like, and then it did look like she bent down and praying. I don't know if Cronenberg is religious or does that in his movies.
The no, I don't think Cronenberg is particularly religious based on the other films of his that I've seen. But I do think that like he understands what that religion plays a big role in like culture, you know. And the cross around his neck was probably a choice that Viggo Mortensen made. There was, again, on the special effects, so you wouldn't know this just by watching it, but Viggo Mortensen was like buying stuff for his character just from like stores, and like he would go visit a town and he would like buy things and put it on like shelves and in their house. So it's just stuff he's like, oh, my character would wear this. My character would have bought this and put it on a shelf, so I'll buy it and put it on the shelf in the set.
Yeah, because they were all Irish Catholic, right?
So, and also like small town America, that's got to be predominantly religious. So, you know, regardless, you're probably gonna have that cross. Richie, I want to talk about Richie for just a quick second because I don't think there's a ton behind Richie. Richie's the brother who could have been a bigger mob boss, but he still lived in a castle in Philadelphia. He's mad about his brother leaving him for dead. There's one like little interesting tidbit for Richie, which I think like could use more discussion. Of that is, was Richie more mad that Joey hurt the people he hurt, or was he more mad that Joey abandoned Richie himself?
I mean, based on how they try to make out, feel like he was upset he abandoned him.
That's kind of
But
the way I felt too. Like, you just didn't call me, you didn't do anything. That's what I'm really mad at.
do you think that if Joey did stay, Richie would have been the mob boss? That's why he was all saying that, because Richie was like the dirty worker, more of like the killer, the violent guy, and or I'm sorry, yeah, Joey was the violent guy, and then Richie was more of like the I'm a good talker, I'm composed, I'm gonna do certain things. Sorry, I'll be right back.
Yeah, you're good. I think that you got a point there though, and I'll say this while you're doing your thing. I think that if Joey hadn't left, there's a chance that Joey either blows it for both of them through the crazy actions he has, like apparently using barbed wire to take off Carl's eye. That's pretty wild. Or Joey might have even been boss. So there's that question of like, did Joey leaving solve things for him too? Which is hard, right? So that would be my guess, that like Joey leaving solved some things for him and let him get into the situation, because Joey could have either been boss or would have ruined it for both of them through his crazy actions.
That
So
would make sense.
yeah, but I think like, so Joey, he killed a made man, or was Carl the made man? I can't remember the order, but he took Carl's eye with barbed wire. I do know that because they said it a bunch of times. But he got in trouble and had to leave because he hurt a made man, which is big no-no based on mafia movies that I've watched before. So there's a chance that Joey didn't really change. He just had to change. He had to leave. Like, it wasn't witness protection, but it was like mafia protection. You know, like if he didn't just disappear and
They
become a
would have
different
got him.
person. Yeah.
Yeah, because
So.
if it was witness protection, that means he had to snitch somebody out, and they're coming
Mm-hmm,
after him because he's a
mm-hmm.
snitch. That's not. They weren't coming after him for being a snitch.
Exactly. They weren't coming after him for being snitch. They're coming after him because he hurt someone that he wasn't supposed to. So there's the violence again. And here's the hard part. Like, I always think about this: is violence against mobsters and stuff. It's generally just accepted because they've entered into this life, but is it really like okay?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's like if military people shoot military people, they've all joined up to shoot someone, right?
If you join the mafia, you kind of expect your family to get whacked at some point. I don't know. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you think it's not going to happen to you? Just wait.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The younger guys are coming for you.
There's always someone else coming up, and they need the spot. Yeah. Past that, I don't know how many other characters we're talking about. We should probably talk about Carl, because Carl was a cool character. That's Ed Harris's character, Carl, with the glassy eye, the funniest special effect they could have chosen for this movie that felt like it was out of place a little bit, but Ed Harris is so badass it worked completely.
He's so badass.
He's just got this cool calmness about him. Like when he's sitting there, he's like, "Yeah, your daughter's okay," and he's in the mall, and he's like, "I've just been watching over her. Don't worry."
Yeah. What do the kids call it? Aura? He
Yeah,
has
yeah,
it. He
yeah,
has it
exactly.
all.
Exactly. Ed Harris has got that aura, and he used it in this movie. And this isn't the first Ed Harris movie with David Cronenberg. Ed Harris was also in, I believe it was Naked Lunch that he was in. And if you need to like see something that is going to make you question everything about everything, it's Naked Lunch, because there's just so many buttholes in that movie.
Buttholes?
Yeah, yeah.
That's a naked lunch. Peter Weller? RoboCop Peter Weller?
Couldn't get away with it for that reason. But Ed Harris showing up at the diner, being as cool as he can, like, "What's up, Joey? How you doing, Joey?" And then, Tom doing his best. I don't know who you're talking to, but also at the same point, not shying away from him because it's his diner. Like trying to maintain control in a situation where now he realizes he's probably losing control.
And then Ed Harris looks like he's just holding back a smirk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you hear that, Mr. Fogarty? He doesn't want us in his diner anymore. I was like, damn, this is great. This part's great. And then, they show up at his house, and they've got his son. and that leads to the ultimate, like, okay, you got to come with us or we're taking your son. Carl Fogarty is not very good at his job, honestly. I want to be real with you. Like his hostage tactics where he lets the kid go before having Viggo Mortensen in his grasp, it's pretty bad. I think there's a reason why Carl lost his eye to Joey. Just be honest, like, he's so cool, but he's not really that good at it when it comes down to the end of things, because he had all control of the situation and completely blew it 100%.
Well, if you got to have Joey be the badass, you can't have Carl be the badass. Carl's there to just act like he's, going to do stuff, but Joey's the guy. Viggo is the guy.
Mm-hmm.
He is.
And yeah. I do like that he's the one who lost his eye to Joey, because it really does seem like it's been this way the whole time. Carl talks. Carl's cool, but Joey's the killer.
So, were you saying that Carl was like the boss, or was he working underneath Richie?
I think he was working underneath Richie, and I don't know that he was working underneath Richie the whole time, like when Joey took his eye. But I think he might have been, because we don't get like a lot of ends on what the situation was with Joey that made him, use the barbed wire on his eye. Was he like pissed at him, or was it like a like long term, like this is a maneuvering move, or was it just they're both drunk and Carl pissed off Joey, so Joey used barbed wire to scrape it across his face? That's where I lean towards, and then that's when he's like, "Never mind, I can't be like this anymore." And we don't see Tom take a drink, right?
We don't, yeah.
Yeah, not until he's Joey in the Philadelphia bar where he buys a beer and he takes one swig, and that's the only time I think we see him drinking.
Yeah, and then when they tell him, "Hey, we gotta go for a ride," he like moves on the table, like, "All right, fine, take the beer then."
So I would guess that's probably like some background to it.
Maybe he changed because he's not an alcoholic and left all that behind,
Yeah, like he's trying his best to leave everything he can, and then it still shows up again. Okay, I will talk about this because I said I was going to wait until we're in the acting part, but we might as well just talk about it right now. Edie, his wife, and the way she cries has some of the worst physical crying acting that I've ever seen in a movie. Like, she has to look away from the camera every single time she cries because she can't get tears, and she makes the most obnoxious noises. Instead of sounding like she's crying, she's like... And it's just ridiculous. Like, it's so bad. And the rest of her acting is fine. I have no issue with her as like an actor, except for when she cries. When she starts trying to cry, it's so awful. And I think she knows it. But however, in this movie, David Cronenberg kept asking her to cry over and over and over again.
She cried a lot. She cried a lot, definitely. And she always had like a sour, like she ate a sour candy face as she was crying.
Yeah, it's just straight up like screaming or like running away from the camera. Like, oh, like, that's not how people cry. That's not really what's going on here. This isn't it.
Does she play in a lot of movies that you know of? First time I've seen her.
I've seen her in the movie Lights Out, which is a bad horror movie, so it's not like that matters much. But then she's in Coyote Ugly.
Maria Bello?
Yeah. Coyote Ugly, I don't really remember her that well, but I think I watched that movie probably right around the time it came out. That was a movie that I saw because this is just personal information that Val will know and almost no one else will. Carla's sister rented it, and I was definitely too young to watch at the time because it was about a strip club. When I was 10 years old, and me and Ricardo watched that movie.
Shit.
But she was in the remake of Assault on Precinct 13. But yeah, she wasn't bad. I wouldn't necessarily say she's bad. I just think they needed to stop trying to get her to cry.
And I thought she was really pretty too.
Yeah. And she looked like the appropriate age for him and everything. Like, they didn't try to make like someone who looked like super young or something. You know what I mean? Like, it all worked out well for me. As long as every scene where she wasn't trying to cry was awesome.
Yeah, she played in Beef too. I just watched Beef like a couple months ago.
Okay, so that's pretty good. IMDb page is mixed up here because I was like, she was in Crash. No, that's another movie that Cronenberg directed. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's move into our middle part here. I want to play the song, so get ready for this. It's gonna make some noise on your end. 5 things you likely did not know. I'm letting the music play out. That's just this preference. Hey, I'll start off here. In 2006, History of Violence was released on VHS, marking what is widely believed to be the last instance of a major motion picture to be released in that format. That's according to a 2008 report from Los Angeles Times. But if in the year 2025 you want to verify that, go ahead and go to eBay and look up A History of Violence VHS and see how much it costs. It costs a whole heck of a lot. Oh, no, you're good. So I will go ahead and give you guys a heads up right now. So History of Violence VHS at the moment on eBay, the first listing I find is $450. So it is a well-known movie for the fact that it was one of the last. There's a few that were like this. I talked to Adam, who we had on for our last podcast, and he said The Machinist was one of those films that only got released as a promo and never as an actual film. It's entertaining, and if you're into VHS at all, which I love collecting VHS because you can find them for relatively cheap, and that's one of the beauties of physical media. But if you're into collecting them, then finding them in movies like this, where it doesn't even look like a movie that you would generally think of as an expensive VHS movie. It's Cronenberg, but it's not like a horror movie with crazy special effects or some sort of specific scenes that set it apart or are different than the other versions of it. But it's got history because it is the last known major wide release picture. Since Val had to step out here for a second, I'm just going to keep moving on. Number 3, the movie, or when Tom and Joey meet, or when Tom meets his brother's henchman in the bar, there are TVs in the background, and they're showing the harness racing from Woodbine Racetrack in Toronto. The distinctive voice of longtime Ontario Jockey Club announcer Frank Salive can be heard in the few moments of the scene. And the reason why that's important is, one, it's supposed to be a bar in Philadelphia, which doesn't fit with that very specific racetrack in Toronto. But two, I do believe that this was Cronenberg's throwback to Toronto. I believe that's his hometown in Canada, from what I can tell. And he loves racing. I do believe it's horse racing and Formula One racing. So, okay, number 3. The movie is originally based on a graphic novel. Yeah, check this out. A History of Violence is based on a comic book. That's the reason New Line Cinema was involved. Cronenberg actually ended up as a comic at the Comic-Con for this film. And while he didn't sound actively upset about it, apparently did not go over particularly well with the audience. Because again, I think when he got this movie, this wasn't a movie that he normally would have chosen, but he got offered a ton of money for it. So he was like, I'll make it for a bunch of money. But then he read into it and he's like, oh, this is about violence and the understandings of violence and all this stuff. But like, the movie was originally just a comic book movie. I think it was supposed to be an action movie the whole way through. It's just kind of oopsed it.
And the comic book came out in 1997, from what I'm reading.
Yeah, so it's not that earlier, earlier
DC
prior.
Comics too.
So here's I have 2 more little facts I'll pop out real quick. Maria Bello, who plays the on-screen mother of Ashton Holmes, is only 11 years older than him. Jack is only 11 years younger than his mom. So I think this is really like the confusing parts that we were talking about earlier with like the family and like their ages and everything is literally just because they're not really that far apart in age. Just rough for someone playing a high school kid.
Yeah, he didn't look young at all.
Yeah.
He even had like a little bit of like 5 o'clock shadow. You can see it. Yeah.
Every once in a while, yeah. They're like, we can't keep it hidden forever. We're trying our best. So before Viggo Mortensen was offered the role for this movie, Thomas Jane and Harrison Ford turned it down. Can you imagine if it had been Harrison Ford instead of Viggo Mortensen?
I would have probably been laughing the whole movie.
Yeah, I don't think it would have played it all the same way. It would have felt very different.
They might have just kept it all action then.
Yeah, right. Because how can you do this movie with Harrison Ford and then have it not be action and not like? I don't think Harrison Ford would have made the same choices, because Viggo Mortensen apparently was very involved in like the character choices.
Maybe them showing that butt was meant for Harrison Ford.
Get him in here. That's Harrison's like, do I really have to do that on stairs? I'm out. Color me out.
I'll only do it for George Lucas and Steven Spielberg.
Mm-hmm. It's like this, he committed violence by choosing the wrong movie. It doesn't make sense. I said it out loud. It doesn't make sense. All right, let's move on. Creativity and cinematography. We'll start by saying this much. For a Cronenberg movie, this had very little amounts of like the creativity that you would expect from a Cronenberg film, but what it did have was pretty cool. The eyeball was funny to me. It didn't track as like awful. It just tracked as like kind of over the top. It made the comic book aspect of this make a lot more sense, honestly, because I can see how they drew this guy with a white eye all the time in a comic book. The guy,
and he looked badass. He really did.
Mm-hmm. The guy choking on his blood trying to talk in the diner, that was awesome special effects.
Yeah, that was like probably my favorite part of the movie, to see that. Yeah. Because I do like that gore. I like to see that stuff in movies. I do. I don't want to
It,
see it in real life. I'm not saying anything with real life, but in a movie, I like to see that.
yeah, I love that stuff because it's like some dude had to make this. You know what I mean? He had to make a living guy look like that, which is like just a crazy level of competency in art.
Way better than CGI.
Uh-huh.
CGI, you can tell it's fake, like right off the bat.
It's like when they hit the when Tom hit Leland in the head with the coffee pot, right? You could tell it was CGI. That one part was very clearly CGI, even though they cut quick to try to get away from it. You could tell. Yeah. Okay. But other than that, like, did you have any like shots or anything that was like specifically stood out to you? As like, this is amazing looking. This is awesome.
I like how they would show the reactions of like the high school bullies, the
Mm-hmm.
friends. So like when they showed the son, is his name Jack?
Yes.
Yeah, so the son Jack, where how like he was getting ready to fight back, they showed like frames of almost as if like when if you remember the A through Z zombie shot of Yuri like looking from the side straight forward, they
Yeah.
showed those shots with their friends, and I thought I love those shots. Or the opening scene when the guy smoking the cigarette flicks it and the camera is following him
Mm-hmm.
into the door. You know, it's like a slow movement. We're follow like it's telling a whole story as without words. The camera's just telling us this story.
That was cool. Yeah, because that was one of the. It was a one cut, right? They didn't cut away from that shot at all for a long
Yeah,
while until
yeah.
he
They
entered
just
the
moved the
door.
camera.
That was good. 100% right. I thought like some of the parts looked kind of bad. Like when they were playing the baseball game, it didn't look like a real baseball game with just like your I don't know. It just something about it cut me wrong. And then like every time the truck would drive away from the house, it looked like a TV show. And I don't know why that part stood out to me, but every time you did that as a transition of the truck driving out of the house, it looked so silly to me.
Like almost like Everybody Loves Raymond kind of TV show.
Exactly, like it just didn't fit at all. Like they had chosen a different camera, and they're like, just get the truck driving out of the driveway. We forgot.
It's like, hey, we're switching houses. Watch this car drive. I'm
Yeah,
gonna switch to a different house.
right. It just didn't feel real, and I'm like, it makes sense because they had like a whole set that they made for this thing, and almost all the parts were taking place in the set. It wasn't the only time that there's like the real town was used is when he was walking on the streets.
Do you know where it was shot?
Mostly in Hollywood and Toronto. The actual town, I don't remember. It might have actually been in Illinois. They did say it in the special features. I just didn't write it down. There's a cool deleted scene where Vigo shoots Ed Harris in the chest, and it's a dream. And it was a dream right after right before he wakes up and he goes to the diner, and then he runs home to make sure his kids are okay. So it was a scene where he says, "I'm going to kill your family and I'm going to kill you and everyone." He gets he shoots Ed Harris in the chest, and then Ed Harris has a gigantic hole in his chest, and he looks up. And this scene was so cool, and the special effects were so cool that I understand why they didn't include it, but it stinks because that would have changed the whole entire creativity that I feel behind this movie. Like, but past that, it was pretty much just okay. And the shots were competent. I like David Cronenberg as a director, but I didn't feel like his direction came through super strong. Val was right. That first scene in the car and in the hotel was probably the most stylistically coherent scene. And it was also the one where you're like, wow, this actually does have something going for it as far as this goes. But past that, it just felt okay. It felt very mid 2000s to me, a little bit washed out, a little bit over the top, but just kind of okay. So as far as creativity and cinematography goes, I don't know. I I like Cronenberg's direction a lot. However, I just feel like in this film it didn't have a huge stylistic backing for me. Like this could have been almost any director from the mid 2000s making this movie. He made good choices, don't get me wrong, but like I don't know, not beautiful choices, not stylistic choices. It kind of just looked like a movie. Okay. Three favorite scenes of the film. Val, hit me with your three favorite scenes. Let's go.
The first scene I really enjoyed was the scene on the stairs
Mm-hmm.
because I do like sex. I like having it. I like looking at it. So that scene of Not the aggression, not any of that, but the way they came to terms. And I know that angry lovemaking can be really good. And of course, I got to mention Vigo's ass and his quick, efficient pumps.
Good, 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 good.
My second scene would be the scene where Jack steps up to the high school bullies and finally, beats them up right in front of his girlfriend and showed us that he can be violent too, just like his father. I really did appreciate that. My last scene would be when, to be honest with you, William Hurt, his whole part at the end, I felt like he was forcing his acting.
Yeah.
It was made me laugh. Like it almost felt like Keanu Reeves was being in that part acting, and the way he's like looking around, it did not feel serious to me at all. And when you mentioned that he nominated for an Oscar for supporting actor,
Yeah,
I
that's
was
goofy, right?
confused.
It's
It
goofy.
has to be by name. It has to be from my point of view.
He's a great actor. I think this was like 100%. Like they gave him something. You know what I mean? They're like, okay, here, we haven't given you enough. Here you go, take this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. My three favorite scenes. I'll run through them pretty quick here. The scene inside of Richie's home. I actually think William Hurt did a good job portraying his intention and his feelings with his eyes. I do agree with you. The rest of it maybe not so well, but that part got me because like as soon as I saw his eyes, I was like, that's pretty good. And Vigo did it. The change from brotherhood to violence felt right too. Second part, the diner scene. Yeah, both the practical effects you love with Cronenberg, the sudden violence, swift mood change of the film, and it was well shot and choreographed. Those dudes were super evil. You knew it, so you did agree he was a hero, even if it was complicated afterwards. And then also the diner scene afterwards when Ed Harris's Carl comes in and takes off his glasses because it was such a cool character reveal, kind of goofy, but it's that level of goofy that is just awesome. You know, like it's so silly. Like, oh, got my here you go. This is me. I'm Carl, and you're just like, this guy's awesome.
Yeah. They're showing off the makeup and what they did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So hit me with your review, man. How do you feel about this movie overall?
I would go 7 out of 10 because it made me think about it and made me want to rewatch it. I did not know what was going on the first time I watched it. And I had a lot of questions. I had to watch it again. And then I watched it in parts too to answer a lot of my questions.
Fair.
And I
Okay.
appreciate when a movie makes me think after I watch it, I'm thinking, oh, what happened here? What did that mean? I do appreciate that instead of
Mm-hmm.
just all thrown in my face. I know exactly what's happening.
Right. I've actually have a 7 out of 10 too. I gave the story a 4, acting a 3, creativity a 3, music a 3, and editing a 3, which means there's like a lot of parts of this that are just okay, but there are also like parts that I thought were really good. We didn't talk a lot about the editing and pacing, but keeping all of this movie wrapped up within the 96 minutes is awesome. Like, thank you for keeping this movie short, sweet, to the point, because you could have got real long and real boring with it, and you
You
didn't.
could have. You really could have. Yeah.
Like, thank you, David Cronenberg. You know what you're doing, and we appreciate that. In means for times, I'm going to say the next movie we're doing is The Silent Partner from 1978. It is a heist movie, thriller movie. It is also based around the Christmas, so it's the holiday sort of movie coming out. Yeah, so check that film out. It looks interesting. I didn't think much of it when I was looking at the cover, but then I watched the trailer and it looks pretty rad.
I just see John Candy on there.
Yeah, John Candy's on there, man.
Yeah.
When he's the young old John Candy. Past that, man. Thanks for being on the show. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Sorry for the hiccups. Sorry.
It's such is life, man. That's the way it goes, you know. It's just life. But this is a good quote to go on with right after I say that. Wow, you sound like you really believe your own crap.